What's going on YouTube? Aaron here, and in today's video we are going to be jumping back into the Delphi case. Now, if you followed my channel for a while now, you will know that we cover many different topics and stories here on this channel. Obviously, the Summer Wells case is one that stands out as one that we almost do a live stream, it seems like at least once a week on, or a video or something along those lines. And that's partly due to the fact that there's so much that seems to be coming out around that case on a weekly basis. Sometimes it feels like on a daily basis that there's constantly something to talk about. But then we have these stories where the Delphi murders are now 5 years old. It's not a new case, but many of you want me to continue talking about it. Obviously, there's new information starting to kind of come out right around this time with the Anthony Shots profile. We just had the 5-year anniversary. The News Nation special came out last night, and I actually watched that. I'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit in this video of what my thoughts were. But I figured, you know what, let's keep talking about this case. I feel like, and based on that News Nation special, it feels like law enforcement potentially kind of have this feeling that they are on to something and something could happen soon around this case. So I wanted to make this video because I did a live stream on this case and I've had some time to think about it and continue kind of researching and looking into it. And there's a couple things that stand out to me, both questions that I have and that I'm just thinking about, and also visually things that stood out to me in kind of the evidence that the public has access to as of right now with the video. And of course, we know the guys down the hill audio that they released. But the video of the man on the Monon High Bridge, let's go to that right now. So let's hit play on this and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. This is it repeating back and forth. Look in his front right pocket. Now I slowed down the video right here and zoomed in, and you can see the bulge, right? But if we pause the video right here and see that there is a gun outline, you can see very, very specifically the outline that I'm seeing right there. And I did like a really bad kind of visual of where the gun would be. Now, I don't think that that's a really proper way of putting a gun in your pocket with the muzzle of the gun facing up. You would think that you would place the gun down into your pocket to where when you reach in, you're grabbing the handle. So obviously, if we look back at this, this doesn't look super accurate to how you would actually put the gun in your pocket. But to me, there is something in that pocket. It just doesn't, it seems like something it's not a bag of chips, you know, it's not like, what is this? It looks very distinct. And to me, that looks like the outline of a gun. And so why that's important to me anyways, is that if he had a weapon, if whoever this was had a weapon and was able to use that weapon to control the two girls, imagine someone walks up to you, pulls out a gun and says, stay quiet, follow me down the hill, whatever it may be. Maybe they were compliant at the beginning. And my thoughts are, he probably was trying to get them back to his car. It could have just been used as a tactic to control them. And then if something started to go poorly and they started to defend themselves and they started putting up a fight, whatever it may be, he could have just at that point decided this is where it all ends for them. If they were dropped off right here, they would have walked just down under the trees along the trail and eventually would have met the start of the bridge, the north side of the High Bridge, and they would have walked across. And then roughly around 2:05 p.m. is when Libby posted the first picture of the bridge, just of the bridge as they're walking across it. And then roughly 2 minutes later, around 2:07 p.m., posted that photo that we all have seen of Abby on the bridge as well. Libby would have had to have been on one of these, or she likely would have been on one of these platforms on this side of the bridge, looking back at Abby when the photo was taken, the second photo. And many people had talked about there looking like there was an image. In that image, there was a man or some figure down the tracks, down the bridge, that you could see. And that has kind of been disproven. There is apparently a steel or some sort of a arched structure that is kind of offset. And so the bottom of one of the bases, it runs vertical and it's kind of lines up perfectly with the center of the path. And so that always looks like there's something at the end of the bridge when you're far on the kind of more southeastern side of the bridge looking down. So I don't think that was the killer at that point. Behind them in that photo, many obviously, like I said, have speculated that, but this is the direction they would have gone. And then this right here would have been the abduction site at the far southeast part of the bridge. They were looking back up this direction when the video was taken of the man walking towards them. And then likely when he said down the hill, they would have gone down this direction, through over Deer Creek. This right here to the north of the creek is where the actual murder scene was at. Now, we went through and actually looked on the Carroll County property viewer to see that is Ronald Logan, who owns many of the properties in this area. So if we click here, we can see that he owns this property that goes up to the road here, which is right next to the cemetery that we're going to talk about in a second. But then he also owns the properties just to the south and the east. So all three of these are his property, and the bodies were found right along the property line on Ronald Logan's property. So this is the creek. Here is the edge of the high bridge. This would have been down the hill right here where my mouse is at, across the water. And then roughly right here is supposedly where the bodies were found. So if we go back to that Google image, you can see this is the edge of the property. And the thing that stood out to me the most is the cemetery. And it's not like I'm the only one who's talked about the cemetery being a possible spot where whoever this was who killed them potentially parked. But to me, it seems like the most logical route to take if you were to be going down the side of the bridge, down the hill, and then trying to get them back to your car, for example. So let me show you guys what the map looks like of the entire route, the potential route for the killer, what it could have looked like if he did in fact park at the cemetery, get on the bridge at the entrance to the bridge, and walk across the entire bridge to the girls. And then what it could have looked like if he was trying to get them back to the car. This is why I think the cemetery thing makes sense. So he could have parked right here in the southwest corner of the cemetery, could have walked through the trees onto the entrance of the high bridge, and then walked across. And then that's when he would have been on video right here telling the girls to go down the hill. Now, why else would he want them to go down the hill unless he was trying to get them to go down the hill and over to this house over here? Or, why would he specifically want them to go down the hill? Well, down the hill means going north, back up straight to the cemetery. It almost lines up perfectly. He probably was trying to get them back to his car if he was indeed parked at the cemetery. And then we know that the death scene, the crime took place right around here. What would be the reason to take them into these trees to kill them? I think he was trying to get them back to his car, possibly. It makes sense that he could have been parked here and went on this route and tried to get them back into the car. And then this is where it could have all gone south. Okay, so in addition to that, obviously the gun potentially being in the front right pocket, there's no way to prove that, obviously. Do I think that there was something there? Yeah, it kind of looks like it. But the only reason why we have that video of the man crossing the bridge coming towards the girls is because Libby had the wherewithal to get her phone out and record. There's significance there, right? We wouldn't have that video if they didn't record that video. Were they expecting somebody else to show up that day? This is Valentine's Day. It's a nice day in February. I would want to know also, did they go to the bridge a lot? Because I know that's a place that people go. It's a big hiking community there in Delphi. There's lots of trails that surround the community and the town itself. But were Libby and Abby, did they frequent this trail often, every couple weeks? Was it kind of like a hangout spot for kids of that age? Is this area common for that? Is this a significant area? Did Libby and Abby go to this area a lot, or was this kind of a random thing? Obviously, they had been there before. This wasn't their first time. And then in addition to that, the reason why they started recording, did they see somebody approaching them that was so very clearly not the person they were expecting, right? Imagine they were talking to somebody, I don't know whether it be somebody from this Anthony Shots profile or someone else, and they were planning to meet up with them, and this person was communicating, yeah, I'm on my way, or whatever it could have been, and then they see this guy coming. Is that why she got the phone out and started recording? Like, this is weird. What's going on? Whatever it may have been that caused that. I think there's significance there. I think that they could have been talking to a profile of some sort and planning to meet someone. Now, it also could have just been, these trails. There's quite a bit of trails, obviously. It's not going to be completely uncommon to run into someone else. However, you do have to make an effort to cross this bridge safely. And if all of a sudden you've got this guy just like coming at you and he's pretty close and maybe he hasn't said anything at this point, maybe they called out to him like, hey, how's it going? Like whatever prior to him saying down the hill, maybe it freaked them out, right? Who's this guy coming? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Oh my gosh, let's film him. Whatever it was. There's significance there. There's a lot of significance. And it's like, was it just a random thing where they started filming because it was weird that this guy was potentially approaching them and not saying anything to them? Or was it because they were expecting someone else? It's all just speculation at this point. I want to go over the kind of 2 or 3 things that stood out to me in the 40+ minute special that News Nation put out last night on the 5th year anniversary of these murders. The officer that's kind of at the helm of all of this that was interviewed would not confirm whether the guys down the hill audio clip was manipulated in any way to form that sentence. So the guys down the hill, he did not confirm whether it was one long sentence. Based on the sound of what sounds like kind of crunching leaves and, debris underneath their feet, it kind of sounds like one long clip. But I found it to be kind of interesting that he wouldn't just confirm, yes, that was said as one sentence. Were they trying to put it out in as if it was one sentence to try to get people to recognize the voice in an easier way? Because sometimes if you're just hearing one word, it's a little bit hard. But if you hear more of a sentence, the public may be able to kind of piece that together more. So I thought that was interesting that he wouldn't confirm that it was said in one long sentence. Not really a long sentence, but just the 4 words, guys down the hill. So I just thought it was kind of weird that they didn't confirm that. Another thing, he wouldn't explain why they changed the composite sketch to the younger looking male. He did say there was significance behind it, but he could not disclose why. And then also he wouldn't confirm if Libby or Abby communicated with the Anthony Shots profile that recently, that's kind of the news that has re-sparked this case as of lately, is the Keegan Klein guy who was arrested, who was tied to this Anthony Shots profile. However, he did say that the profile itself and this kind of lead and this step in the case has opened up many, many investigative leads. So there clearly is significance there. He didn't confirm whether they were talking through their Snapchat with this guy or through an Instagram account or whatever it may have been. But I think there is clearly significance there, considering he didn't deny it. Clearly it seems significant because it made such a splash in terms of a big lead in the case. I think that they likely had chatted, at the very least, a direct message or an interaction socially with this Anthony Shots profile. It seems like he's confident that they are onto something. Now, that could all be him kind of playing to the camera. He was even talking kind of as if he was speaking to the person, like, he's watching. We know you're watching. We're going to find you, kind of thing. That could have all been intimidation, obviously. We don't know necessarily how close they are. But it feels like they seem to be a little bit closer to the answers that we're all looking for and hoping for their families. And so hopefully that's the case. Like I said, I'm going to continue following this story and many others. I wanted to make this video just to really talk about that gun. What are your guys' thoughts? Does it look like there's a gun in the pocket to you? Let me know down in the comments below. Anything else to keep the conversation going? I'll be down in the comments reacting and responding to some of you guys. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to come by the live streams, definitely hit the bell notification, because that's the only way YouTube really will notify you when I'm live. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.